Hello, it's Devin Gray from eXp Realty and the Mogul Realty Group. We are back talking fix and flips. This is episode 3. As always, we're here with JP Langlois from Teknicon. Hello, JP. How are you today?
Good. Thank you. And you, Devin?
I'm doing very good. It's a rainy Monday morning, good for the lawn, and just nice to not have any snow. It's hard to believe it was only a couple of weeks ago we still had snow on the ground. So it's nice that spring's finally here.
Free cleaning time.
Yes, that's right. So we've had a good couple of conversations in the past. This question comes up all the time. Obviously, this is where the magic happens from a standpoint of being successful with a fix and flip, and that is in regards to pricing. So we're going to talk a lot of pricing here today. JP, just a quick overview in regards to what you think about when you and Rami are out shopping for properties from a standpoint of where you need to be in regards to the purchase of your fix and flip.
Okay, well, as with any businesses, real estate investment is a business. It's not a hobby. It's not something that you invent yourself in. It is a business. It has to be treated as a business. As with any businesses, the one rule for anyone is know your numbers. If you do not know your numbers, you will screw up no matter what. There's no ways out of this. So you have to make sure you know your number. That means 3 things. There's 3 components to it: the purchase price of the property you're looking at, the selling price of the property that you're looking at, and the in between, which is the renovation cost or whatever project you want to do in between the purchase and the selling of the house. That number here is going to be kind of the magic number for you. So the 2 things that are not very variable that you will know right from the get-go is going to be the purchase price and the selling price. Selling price, you're talking to your mogul real estate agent. They're obviously real estate investment focused. So they will be able to so you guys are able to give us the comps for the product that you want to put on the market at the end of the day. So that's going to give you your end price. The purchase price is what you're going to be able to negotiate. What you need to know now is the in between, and if that number makes sense in your calculation for what works for you. But obviously what works for us as construction companies not necessarily going to be the same thing that works for a seasoned investor or a rookie. So those are the key focus is to, once again, and we never say that enough, is know your numbers. Know what works for you. Know what's your margins. Know where you need to stand to make this a win for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. Obviously, the suggestion on working with Mogul to work out or have a look at the comparables. So you have a good idea as to what the property would either sell for. The other exit strategy would obviously be to flip to yourself. Other people call it the BRRRR strategy, the buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And so that in itself is also important to know, are you going to hang on to the property or are you going to sell it? So let's talk about that middle part there. Obviously, when somebody's thinking about, if they're a seasoned contractor, a very experienced person that can handle all those various trades, that's going to keep some costs down, but they have an extra expense in time. For somebody new, obviously, they need to make sure that they are really dialed in. One of the things that, let's talk about probably one of the biggest mistakes that people do when it comes to pricing. What would you suggest that biggest mistake would be?
Well, there's a few here. There's a few places where you can stumble, obviously. And the first one is dealing with a real estate agent that is not real estate investment focused. It's going to be one of the major things. Any real estate agent can pull some comps in the neighborhood. If the real estate agent that you're working with does not pull comps on exactly the product that you want to end up with, that's not really going to help you at the end of the day to know your numbers. So the first thing is work with a real estate agent like yourself that's real estate investment focused, that knows exactly what to look for comps. So he's going to be able to give you the real numbers at the end of the day. Second thing is what, so how much you want to be involved in the project. So obviously, if you are a rookie, do not want to be involved for whatever reason, you're an out-of-town investor, you're going to want to deal with a contractor that knows what he's doing, that's done multiple flip, that you can have reference from. Once again, construction, there's a lot of good guys, there's a few bad ones that you need to avoid. So the best way to get a good contractor is by reference. It's pretty much as simple as that. If you have 10 people that are vouching for somebody, probably is doing something right. If you have trouble finding one, might be a red flag. Price-wise, when you walk into a house, the big things that you want to look at, we've talked about it in a previous episode. The exterior of the house is obviously one thing that is oftenly missed, because that's something that can run in anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 on the exterior that you're gonna have to put if you don't look at the right things. You want to be able to look at something that's going to be an easy flip or fix. That's going to be probably the subject of another discussion. If you're wanting to make a legal basement suite or just flip a house, obviously you're going to approach it in a different manner. But if we just concentrate on doing basement flips, so the ease of the project, meaning that the easier the project is, the easier the house, the existing condition of the house is to work with. Not necessarily keeping everything, but just the location of load-bearing walls, that kind of stuff. So that's where you want to bring in an experienced contractor that knows these little things that are going to save you a lot of money at the end of the day.
Okay, and let's get into a little bit of actual pricing. Some of the big items that people need to know from a standpoint of working out what their construction costs are going to be. Some are fixed costs, and some are obviously dependent on the size of the house. So let's talk about those fixed costs, such as roof, furnace, hot water tank.
Yeah. So right from the get-go, the roof, if the roof has been done in the last 5 to 10 years ish, you won't have to touch this. So that's a place where you're going to be able to save, and depending again on the complexity of the roofing itself. If it's just a straight roof, it's obviously not going to be the same price as if you have multiple face of the roof and that kind of stuff and multiple angles. But typical roof on a bungalow, you're going to be looking at anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000. So if it's something that's already done, you don't have to touch that. Windows is another big one. Windows on a regular bungalow up and down, you're going to be looking at around 10 to 12,000 easily if the windows have been replaced once again in the past 10 years. Likely you won't have to change that. So just those two little things, which we consider almost exterior, between the roof and the windows, you're almost saving 20,000 on your renovation project right from the get-go. Furnaces, most of the time, we rarely see furnaces that we can reuse. So if you're talking about a legal suite, you're going to have to replace 2 furnaces. Each source has to be replaced up and down. Some contractor will suggest to go with HVR, an air exchange system with electric baseboard in the basement because it's cheaper and it's faster. That's rarely a good idea because no investors that are going to want to buy your product are going to be interested in that because of the cost of electricity. That's going to be very high and it doesn't function as well. So our recommendation on that is always 2 new furnaces. It's going to be anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 to get 2 new furnace and ductwork installed in your house. The spread seems pretty big. You have some contractors that are going to be charging a lot less, depending on the complexity again. If they can reuse some of the ductwork, most of them won't, but if you can reuse a bit of the ductwork, that's obviously going to make a big difference at the end of the day. Other items, hot water tank is always a good thing. If you go on demand, it's going to be a bit more expensive than if you go with a power vented one. In both cases, you're going to be looking upwards of $3,000 for the new hot water tank. Plumbing on a house, we definitely, when we do ours or for clients, we definitely suggest to redo the whole plumbing, because you don't want something that's going to burst into a bigger problem once the renovation is finished. So doing the plumbing on a house, it's going to run around 8 to 10,000 again. Electricity, pretty much the same cost, another 8 to 10,000. If you don't have to redo, one thing you want to look for is the size of the panel or size of the service, the existing service. If you're dealing with a very old service that's 60 amp, obviously you're going to have to bring that up to code. That's going to be an extra $5,000 that you're going to have to look at for that kind of stuff. The other stuff, flooring, paint, and such, it's always going to be depending, that's square footage pricing. So obviously the bigger the house, the more you're going to be paying for this.
That's right. So on that, paint and flooring. Let's talk a little bit about that from a square footage standpoint. Obviously, you can break things down into three. You can go cheap, you can go mid-grade, you can go upper end. Where would the pricing be for those square footage type of elements, such as paint and flooring?
Well, paint is one of the places where a lot of new investors, demolition and paint are the two places where new investors are going to want to get involved maybe a bit more. Those are items that are not very technical. You can ask for guidance. And that's something that at the end of the day can save you a bit of money, doing the paint, doing the demolition. So those little things, clean up the yard, those are the little things where you can save money. Painting itself, it's a bit one of the difficult items. You're going to go to a professional, they're going to charge you upwards of $3 a square foot, including paint, to paint a house. So if you look at a 1,200 square foot bungalow, that's going to be 3,600 upstairs, 3,600 downstairs. So you're looking at a bill that's going to flip over $7,000 to paint a house. You can get some cheaper options, obviously on the market. You go in TGG, those kind of stuff, which we don't, for the reason that we warranty our jobs 3 years. So you're going to go with somebody that's going to do a repaint on a house for $3,000, and you'll find somebody that's going to do it for that price. But you're going to have to probably redo it in 1 or 2 years. Paint quality is going to be very doubtful. You're going to see a lot of uncut places. So at that price, there's going to be a lot of defects. But then again, depending on what it is you're looking for, we're pushing for higher quality product. If you're okay with something that's very low end, you will find somebody that's going to do a house for $3,000. But on our side, we're aiming more around $6,000 to $7,000 to paint a house. Flooring, once again, there's different ways to approach this. What we do usually, or what we suggest, is a maintenance-free house. So glue down vinyl throughout. The reason why we go with glue down is that if there's any scuffs or one board that needs to be replaced, it can be easily pulled up and replaced by a new board. As with click, it gets complicated depending on the location on that board. You might have to rip out half of the floor to be able to get to that one. There's different ways to look at this for flooring. Some people are going to prefer to have carpet in the bedrooms and the stairs, which is not a bad option. Cost-wise, it's very cost-effective. It's warm for the feet, especially in the basements. But maintenance-wise, you're going to have to replace your carpets. As with a vinyl floor, it's something that's a lot easier to maintain. You can throw a rug on it or something like that, and just for the warmth. But so we definitely suggest vinyl flooring. But there's cheaper way, like I said. If you go with carpet, you're going to be looking at something installed as low as $2 a square foot. If you know where to look for, and you're going to get free install. Places like Home Depot sometimes can have some pretty awesome deals on that kind of stuff. We go to a commercial manufacturer that installs all of our floor on vinyl, so it's a bit different. So then again, in vinyl, you can go to the cheapest 2 millimeter thick vinyl, which is going to run probably somewhere around $3, $350 square foot installed, or you can go with a higher grade. That's going to be a lot more durable. The wear surface is going to be a lot harder. So products for vinyl is going to run anywhere between $5 to $7 a square foot installed if you go to a higher quality. So that's pretty much your range there, from 3 to 7, and then anywhere in between that is what you're going to be paying for vinyl flooring. Carpet a bit cheaper. Laminate, we definitely avoid that because of ease of water damage. As soon as there's a bit of water on it, there's going to be some damage. It's not an easy product to maintain. There's always issues with it.
Right. So thank you for all that. That's a lot of numbers. As anybody who's getting into fix and flip can see, there are a lot of numbers to look at from all the different materials that you need to put in the house, and you really need to know them. So obviously, someone such as yourself or any other experienced contractor is going to know these numbers. For somebody that's new, getting into fix and flipping, what would be the good step for them to take in regards to making sure that they know that they're on the right track of not overspending, and that they're putting good quality materials in there, and at the same time, you know, they're on track for saving money so that they can make money at the end of the flip?
Yeah. Well, one way is to look, as we said at the beginning, one way is to look at this is know your numbers. So if you know your entry number, you know your selling number, that's going to give you your split. So your split is evidently the difference between what you're going to be selling it for, or the value at the end of the project. Even if you don't want to sell it, you still want to know that number that you're going to be able to refinance, if anything, at the end of the project. So we're just going to throw numbers out there just to make sense of this. So if you buy a house for $250,000 and the end sale is going to be $400,000, that gives you a split of 150. So that number is what you know that you can work with. Mm-hmm. So either going with a contractor that's going to cost you anywhere between 100 to 150 will leave you that little margin at the end. If you go, if you do some of the project yourself, so if you can have in your numbers those little things that we talked about. So from that 150, if you know that you don't have to spend on the windows, on the roof, those are big items. Obviously, on the exterior, that's another big item. So the less you spend on your project along the way to make it to that 400, the better it is, obviously. But there is going to be some minimum that you're going to have to meet. Obviously, you cannot put in the cheapest laminate, the cheapest used kitchen, used appliances, and everything to the minimum and hope to get to that 400. So that's a discussion that you're going to need to have with your real estate agent, where he's going to be able to direct you in what kind of product you need to put on the market to hit that end number at the same time. So that calculation becomes very important. Either you are, if you're a rookie, that's where you want to make sure that you surround yourself with a team of people that can help you with those numbers. Have the real numbers on paper are going to be the winning key to any of those projects. If you go in there hoping to make a profit, hoping to make a win out of it, rarely going to work. If you don't have the basic of all these numbers down, and working with professional people, starting with your real estate agent, the contractor, whoever you surround yourself with, make sure that those people are they're actually involved in real estate investment to begin with. They're not just there to make a quick buck on construction. They're just not there to make a quick buck on selling a house. So professionals in real estate investment are going to be also a big help in making this a win for you.
Great. All right, JP. Well, that was some fantastic information on pricing. If you have any other questions, you can certainly reach out to JP. His number is in behind him there. And JP, your email address?
Again, for any information, info@teknicon.ca. The name is behind us, info@teknicon.ca, or on Facebook, fairly easy to find at teknicon.ca.
Great. JP, thanks very much. This is Devin Gray from EXP. If you have any questions, reach out to me by Facebook or on email at devin@mogulrg.com. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.